do, and John, I know you have to leave early, and we have a few more minutes, is to each give you one of the questions. And if you don't like it, then maybe you can just change it with the guy next to you. But read the question and answer it. And then if we have some more time, we may let him answer it again. Okay, so you're going to read the question, and then you can answer it.
Many constituents feel that the council does not respect them or their opinions. How can that change? And I think we've touched upon this fairly well. It changes by maybe modifying how we conduct our business, particularly as we look at it in the public light, ladies and gentlemen. I know that, as we discussed earlier, a lot of this has come as a result of feelings emanating from the council chamber. And, you know, we have to listen. We've got to pay attention. We cannot be texting. We cannot be exchanging notes with one another. We have to look the citizens in the eye, listen to what they're saying, and move forward. By doing that, they will know that they have our respect, and it needs to be a mutual concern, of course. Thank you.
Okay, how do you feel about moving the sheriff's headquarters to Castaic, and why? I think that if the sheriff's station were the only sheriff's station in the Santa Cruz Valley were to be in Castaic, that would be a very bad idea. I'm not sure who thought of that, if they thought it's the only one, but apparently, from the reports, it's not supposed to be the only sheriff's station. I think the best thing to do with the sheriff's station is to put it right in the middle of the city, since it is the city sheriffs. We contract with the sheriffs. They do a fabulous job for us. So I think the sheriff's station would be in the center, kind of on perhaps over by where the speedway is in that area, because that's the center of the city's Santa Clarita. Then additional sheriff's station or substation out where the new courthouse is going to be built out on the 126, because there's a lot of cost savings and a lot of efficiencies that you gain by putting those two things together because of the prisoners that they hold for hearings and whatnot at the courts. So I think it's really, really important that we have a new sheriff's station and a bigger sheriff's station, and I'm hopefully going to be one of your leaders that's going to be one of the people that will help them build a great big new sheriff's station, but right in the middle of our city to serve our citizens.
The question is, should the office of the mayor be elected by the voters? I believe in a representative government.
Yes.
And that's what I believe in. And based upon the fact that I like that there's 5 city council persons and there's an actual rotation, one a year gets to be the mayor. But it has to be that way. There's no like shenanigans where you now decide to change it or people want to change how it should be. It should be an actual rotation. Each year, one of the council persons gets to be the mayor. Even if you don't like that person, they still get to be the mayor. The reason I believe in that is when you vote for all 5 council persons, at least once a year, you have somebody who's a little different, who brings something a little bit different to the community, who adds something that's different, and it can help a portion of the community that their constituents voted for that person. So I think that's really, really important. In the future, if there's some studies, maybe things could change, but as of right now, I think things are working pretty well as long as they follow the actual rotation. Thank you.
It's hard not to answer the question that the person just said. If you were elected, what would you do to keep the Cemex plant from opening? I'm very, very, very frustrated about this. I don't know how many of you were here about a year ago when Senator Boxer came out and was all, I'm going to save the day, aren't I, bomb, and your congressman's not doing anything for you. And so she introduced this piece of legislation that's sitting somewhere probably underneath the catalog on her desk. She's done nothing with it. I'm so frustrated with that. I think she's in a position of power right now in the Senate. I'd love to see her have a hearing, try to push this forward. I've met with Congressman McKeon's office and with him personally, and I know that they are willing to try to come up with a solution. We are banned because of the earmark situation from doing the bill that we had previously done before, but I know the congressman is ready and willing to take anything we can move forward. We need to push Barbara Boxer. She is in a position of power. I think she can get something done for us. She is respected in her party. She's got the majority there, and I'd love to see her move ahead with it.
My card actually has two questions on it, so I'm assuming I'll get 2 minutes, so I appreciate that. First question is, how do you place your personal views on hold and have them not interfere with the political climate? Obviously, my personal views are going to be a part of any decision I would make. Listening to the people, looking at my own personal values are all part of what would go into a decision. So I certainly don't include in that my own personal selfish best interest as my personal views. I think it's important that I leave those aside. The second question, how are you going to balance all of your hats? I guess the law helps me with that one a little bit. My Castaic Lake Water Board service would have to end if I'm elected to City Council. That is by law an incompatible office. And so I would, by taking the oath for City Council, I would have automatically resigned my Castaic Lake Water Agency hat. I would say additionally, the idea that busy people oftentimes the ones picked to get things done, because I do have the ability to juggle the many hats, many things that I do in the community, and I enjoy all of them a great deal.
I was thinking there was another question coming. Anyway, okay, so this is for all of you. What improvements are proposed for the Canyon Country? What would you propose? Like, office space, police station, rec center, restaurants, etc. What improvements would you propose for Canyon Country?
There's a couple hot butts going on in the Canyon Country area right now, ladies and gentlemen. And again, public safety is right up there at the top. Another issue is a community center similar to what we have over in the Newhall area. We need one in Canyon Country for our youth. It is the right thing to do. It helps to keep the kids off the street. And it is all part and parcel of working for public safety. It's just a very, very beneficial thing to have. Along with that, we need a new senior center in the Canyon Country area. One single senior center. When you look at the city, we're 53 square miles. And it's very difficult for people in Canyon Country to go all the way over to Newhall. And I dare say some of the far reaches of Saugus, we're missing those folks entirely. So again, we need to plan and see what we can do to get to senior centers and serving our community out here. Thank you.
What he said. Look, those are the things there on my 12-point plan. You can read them. So thank you, Bob, for bringing a couple of them. I will just add another thing. It has to do with the economic viability of any community. And that is we really need to work with some developer interests to create an area that has a little more upscale shopping and upscale restaurants. In Canyon Country, that's been lacking for a number of years. It seems like for those people in Canyon Country, all the marbles rolled to this end of the valley. And that wasn't by accident, that was by design. The people who were designing down at this end of the valley were doing a really good job being out there recruiting. And so, in as much as the city can work to facilitate the recruiting of upscale restaurants and shopping in perhaps a new area or a refurbished area in Canyon Country, I'm sure all the citizens out there, myself included, would really appreciate that. So we don't always have to drive over to Valencia. Make sure we stay before we go over the freeway so their tax dollars stay here and shop here. So
I agree with both Bob and Tim. I live in Canyon Country. My wife lives in Canyon Country. We need a community center, obviously. The second thing is we need a police station, obviously. Those are two pretty easy things that anybody who lives out in Canyon Country, anybody who grew up out there knows that we need that. My mom lives in Valencia Hills. I always have to drive to Valencia. My friends always have to drive to Valencia to do things. We should have more stuff in Canyon Country. But I'll break away from it a little bit. And one thing I would like to see in Canyon Country is a Cabela's. I like to fish. I like to hunt. I like to shoot. So I was in Nebraska for 4 years, and that's a great store, great place. And so I'd love to have one of those in Canyon Country. It'd be great, and a lot of people like that store. And so, for me, that would be a great place to go. So, breaking from the tradition, that's all.
Fishing in the
It could balance ideas. The thing about Canyon Country, the numbers are, I think over half of our residents live in Canyon Country. So you're not talking about a tiny little neighborhood. It's a huge area, and it's got a lot of different parts to it. So I want to talk about Sand Canyon in particular. We're trying to do some outreach to the community there to deal with people who are speeding on Sand Canyon Road. There may or may not be drugs and alcohol involved. There may or may not be teenage boys involved. But that's a huge thing that we're addressing right now. That road is a dangerous road, and it's one that you have to drive carefully and not to speed on. So we're doing some outreach there. We will, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, be looking at finalizing a deal for what will be our community center. We may not call it that in Canyon Country, which can address some immediate needs that we have there. There's certainly more work to be done with economic development and bringing Cabela's and other things out there. I think we've done a great job with the Golden Valley area, with the shopping center there, and bringing some things to that part of town. I think we have to really break Canyon Country up into smaller pieces and look at what each neighborhood needs. I want to add one other thing. I did talk to a woman this morning who lives in Canyon Country and had a lot of parks concerns, and so that's going to be something we need to address too, is parks in Canyon Country.
Well, I certainly get the privilege of being last here. So I think John may have gotten my second vote with the Cabela's idea. As a fisherman, that's a great story. So what hasn't been said is what we do not need in Canyon Country, and that is the mega line. We do need to work, as others have said here today, as diligently and as hard as we can to eliminate or at least get the mega off of the mega line. We certainly could live with the historic mining levels, and perhaps that's something we need to do to talk with with CEMEX and try to get them to scale back and extend the timeline on that mine so that we're not a huge regional mine, rather we're serving the actual builder needs in our valley and not much else. So I thank you very much.
Paige, I'm going to have you read this one. I lost my reading glasses this morning. These are actually just my movie watching glasses.
Don't tell me that. That's for movie glasses. What can we do to protect our children from the many sex offenders we have living in this valley? With the stay on Megan's law, sex offenders may live anywhere they want. Reporting can be misleading, as they must register at one location and stay at another home during the day. How would you fix this problem?
No, I don't make any law, folks. Let's go on this one. It is a problem, and if you go into the computer and play around with some of those websites, I got to take a little argument as to how many we do have. And I go back to a basic concept, and it's all part of being just an old retired cop. We do a pretty good job of picking up the bad guy on the street. We do a pretty fair job of getting through the criminal justice system through the courts. We do a pathetic job of keeping them behind bars where they need to stay to protect our children. And that is where we need to focus a lot of our attention. I made this comment the other day, and it's a terrible comment to make. This is one time I will reach and pull another dollar out of my pocket, build more jails, because we need to keep these kind of slime buckets off the streets.
Bob made a comment the other day about it, and on this subject, I have to agree with him. This issue is such a difficult issue for us locally because our hands are somewhat tied when the state goes and passes laws, or our liberal state court passes law and takes the laws and says these are not constitutional, or there's a problem with this. You know, the will of the people in California has been thwarted so many times by the courts. It is so frustrating to be a Republican who is pro-family, and we want to look out for our children. We pass a law, and then the courts invalidate it. The only solution we can do is to keep working with the state, keep working with our state legislatures, keep helping elect those people so that we can turn the tide, keep passing the laws that then go forward and try to overturn what the court is going to do for us. So that is the way to go. We don't stop fighting.
This issue to me is very, very important. I have prosecuted sex offenders. Personally, I believe in mandatory castration. That's my opinion. I told you if you want to see me in action in trial, come up in Antelope Valley, because I don't play, and I bring out my infantry MP style, and I bring it, and I put criminals away. When it comes to child molesters, let me say one thing that rips the heart and soul out of a child for the rest of their life. And I've talked to children and put them on the stand who have been molested. And you shall think about that. We got a serious problem out here, I'm telling you, with Facebook, with MySpace, with a lot of crazy people out here preying on children. If you want, as our party, to take back this state, you need to start talking about law enforcement. Because we will win when you talk about law enforcement. We will win if the Democrats are letting out sex offenders. We will win if they're passing AB 109 and 117. We will win if all these criminals are coming out and attacking our families. That is where you will win. Instead of fighting one another, and I'm new to this, instead of fighting one another as a party, let's join together and unite and help people who can't protect themselves. And that's the children. And this party, our party, can be leaders in that. Sex offenders are sick pieces of you know what. I'm a Christian, so I'm not going to say what they are, but I will prosecute them to the fullest as long as I'm a deputy district attorney. My wife will go after them as long as she is a deputy sheriff, and all my friends will go after them as long as they are sheriffs. And even as an independent citizen, we have rights, and if I see anybody doing anything to kids, the beatdown's coming. So I'm not going to allow that to happen. Thank you.
Okay, John, there's a reporter here from the signal,
Oh, is that
so I'm
okay?
just telling you now.
John has to leave. So that's why I came the extra 3 minutes just to say goodbye.
That's okay if the signal's here. I'm a prosecutor. We all pay me. I work for the people. And part of my job is to protect the community. And I will do that to the fullest extent of the law that I can. Because that's my job to passionately fight for you. I want to read you something. Some of you don't know that I'm a Christian. And I haven't really talked about it that much. But there's a chapter in John. Found John. There's a chapter that I really like. At dawn, he appeared again in the temple courts where all the people gathered around him, and he sat down to teach them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law, Moses commanded us to stone such a woman. Now what do you say?" But Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until only Jesus was left, with the woman still standing there. Jesus straightened up and asked her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, sir," she said. "Then neither do I condemn you," Jesus declared. "Go now and leave your life of sin." Let's stop throwing stones. Let's get together as a party, and let's work together to take back California. Thank you. Sorry, I have to go. I have to go get a murderer, so.
I think it's been said, and it's a good point, we have to work closely with our legislators and enact as tough laws as we can. Senator George Runner was a huge advocate for this, and Cameron Smythe has been. I met with one of our local nonprofit groups a couple weeks ago who's working on a new program. John said to me about Facebook, it's so much more than just those people who've been released who are going to show up on our little maps. If those are the only people we had to be worried about, at least we can sort of keep an eye on them. But there are a lot of predators out there, and we need to do a better job educating parents and teachers and the kids themselves. What's okay, what's not okay. Look what happened at that school in Los Angeles. How was it that those kids didn't realize what's happening is not okay? The kids didn't talk to their parents. The parents weren't picking up on what that was. So we need to enact some sort of an education program so that we realize where the line's being drawn. And the internet has created a whole new issue in all of that.
Certainly agree it's a multifaceted problem. It involves legislation, it involves law enforcement. But I'm going to take off where Mayor Enders sort of left off there. I suggest that it is something that's very appropriate for our schools to engage in. As a matter of fact, it is something that I've more or less on my own instituted in my own classroom, where I do teach kids the appropriate use of technology, and I work with them in an effort to understand some of the benefits and dangers of things like Facebook and the internet. So I believe that we can expand those efforts into the high school. I believe that we can also get down to the elementary school, teach kids safer habits, teach them to report when they're feeling uncomfortable, teach them to run away from those that they feel might do them harm, and bring those skills to our school children.
Right. And now, for the last and most important question of them all, our president would like to ask you a question.
I want to thank you all so much for coming, and we wanted to kind of end on kind of a light note. And so, since you have been through so many forums that you can't even remember, we wanted to end this with, when this is all over and you were able to take a dream trip, where would that be?
Dream trip. It's been quite a long time since I've been back to Germany. Do still have friends there, so I think that would be where I would certainly like to go. More realistically, perhaps I will be going again fishing, passing by Cabela's in Colorado on my way, and going up to Montana fishing.
Well, I'm going to do what I did 4 years ago, and I've already got it planned. The day after the election, I'm taking the day off. I have it scheduled at, well, it was Glenelg, Ivy, now it's the Ivy. I'm going to take my 3 girlfriends who've been helping me day and night work on this, and we're going to go have massages, and then we're going to go out to lunch, and then hopefully the next day I'm going to get back to work again. So that's my dream day.
I'm going to Disneyland. That's where I really am going to go. Because I asked my daughter, this is a conversation we had a couple of weeks back, and I was just asking her that question. If you could do anything, because you know summer's coming up, and she's old enough now to decide the things she wants to do. So I said, if you could go anywhere or do anything, you could go across the country, because we'll have a couple of weeks, hopefully. And what would you like to do? Where would you like to go to? And I thought, maybe Colorado, where the relatives live. I thought maybe the nation's capital, because of the history, and we've been trying to stoke her up about that. But she said, Disneyland.
Kathy, will you stand up? Stand up. Where would you like to go?
Where would you like to go? On a cruise.
I want to do the best route.
And to conclude our morning, we have your last comments. You can take 30 seconds or more just to wrap it up, and we'll call it in. And Pepper does have a presentation. So, your last moments with us, what would you like to say?
Well, it's been a privilege to be here. I mean that most sincerely. As we have an opportunity, we've had a number of them to go out and meet with the community, and it does give us a great opportunity to interact and listen to you as well as you're listening to us. Having said that, perhaps you saw Sunday's Signal. There was a little ad on the back page, full page, with over 500 endorsements for my campaign. And I will tell you, I very much would love, if you're not already on it, I would love, if you're comfortable with it, to have your endorsement as well. And if you just go to bobkeller.com, hit the button endorse, and it's done. I would be very, very honored. I'm hoping to hit 1,000. We're going to print that page one more time just before April the 10th. And I'm committed to you, ladies and gentlemen. If you re-elect me, I promise I'll do my absolute best to do what's right for you and all of Santa Clarita. Thank you.
Okay, I got to stand up, but I promise I won't preach. Well, I might preach. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out because, I mean, to take the time out of your life and your day when you could be doing so many other things and to dedicate it to the political process and trying to make our city and our county, our state, and our country better, I applaud each and every one of you ladies and gentlemen who are part of this club. I want to say that I have a lot of background. I've worked for the government, I've worked for a private company, and I've worked for a nonprofit organization serving our valley for about the last 14 years as the executive director. And I will put all those things to use so that I can always know the issues and I can always listen to you with respect and always make the very best decision that I can for each and every one of you. And, you know, John said a couple of things about, you know, taking back the party and being a peacemaker, and I agree with that. But I also want you to remember that when a certain gentleman was going through the temple and they were desecrating the Father's house, he turned the tables over. He stood up. I will stand up for you.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here today. I'm going to just lay it out there. I am not perfect. I am not a politician. Sometimes I say the wrong thing. I have put my size 8.5 in my mouth more than once during this campaign, and I probably will do it again. I am a citizen who wants to serve citizens. Community service is and always has been my passion. My heart is in the right place, even though sometimes my words are not. And so I ask for your forgiveness for the times when I misspeak, and just to tell you that this community means the world to me. There are a lot of things that all of us could be doing right now. There are a lot of different nonprofits that I'd be devoting a lot of time to, but what's most important to me is maintaining our quality of life, keeping Santa Clarita a wonderful place to live. I hope that I have a chance to serve you for 4 more years, and ask that you pick up one of my brochures on the way out and visit my website, which is loriender.com. Thank you.
I have said many times, Republican Women Federated is my absolute favorite Republican group. I think somebody said earlier today, one of your leaders that pointed out the absolute truth, that you folks do more work and to further the Republican cause, I believe, than the combined total of all the rest of the club. So I applaud you. I thank you. I really feel that you folks are the most important folks in this room. I ask for your vote on Election Day. I ask that you could pick up a brochure, and failing that, I ask that you go to my website. Again, I put an awful lot of information on there. I've tried to put a lot of details that you, as I say, the hiring authority, you have a right to know who it is you're hiring. And I would ask that you go to my website and learn more about me and vote between now and April 10th. Thank you very much.
For you.
I just wanted to say, you're thanking us, we want to thank you. It is, like I said before, you are the private citizens that are willing to represent us. And so we want to thank you also. We hope you enjoyed the mornings, you yourselves. We hope you enjoyed having lunch with us. And then we also have certificates for each one of you that says Santa Clarita Republican Women, recognize and appreciate, and then your name, March 2012, SCRW City Council Forum. So thank you so much. We hope you'll put this in your office, up on the wall, so the children